Apparently everyone knows me.
So, sort of, what's it feel like? Sort of like losing friends, or?
Yeah, kind of.
Do you understand why your dad's moving?
Dallas, side events.
Said a little earlier.
And that's stretch.
All right, go mess around. All right, I gotta just talk.
Right up this way, let me show you.
I never ever wanted to leave here with any kind of bad feeling. But this week has been a bad week for me. I feel kind of betrayed a little bit.
Well, I do too, a little bit. And again, all we're talking about really is Ted Turner. That's what's coming between you and me, and that's all. Can't tell you how appreciative I will always be for everything you've done.
I didn't want to leave with any problems. I actually didn't want to leave at all. And then it's the point where there was no other choice but to go. The way this whole thing has been depicted, it's really hard for me as a hero here to come up short this weekend. What would you want to do today then?
I'm open to anything.
I think what I'd like to do is get through today. I think tomorrow I should just go in and do my speech and forfeit the title. I think it allows me a chance to leave with my head up and leave in a nice way. I mean, I don't have to beat Sean. We could have a schmoz or whatever you want.
I would think it'd be a run-in type thing. But,
Yeah.
But I'm open to anything.
No, I think that's...
I'm open to anything. Like I said before, I'm determined this is going to wind up the right way.
They're gonna be watching you like a motherfucker. Like if it takes too long for you to get up fast. But do you feel comfortable with that? I want to run this by Vince because when you come back, we have it all ironed out.
Yeah.
I want to have it ironed out before all the other boys start jumping in.
It's okay. Just talk to Vince. It's going to be a disqualification.
Don't believe it.
And this is what we have all waiting for, ladies.
So Vince finally agreed that I didn't have to lose the belt. That I could leave with my head up.
Two of the most dominant and two of the most perennial great athletes in the history of the WWF. But folks, this is very, very personal. This match is going to be stiff.
Make it a 3-shot. Vince, I'm going to put you on the hot seat now. Who's going to win?
I don't know.
The PWR presents What If? What if John Cena turned heel? What if Chyna became the first woman world heavyweight champion? What if Owen Hart never passed away? What if Magnum TA never got into a car crash? What if Hulk Hogan stayed with the AWA? What if Shawn Michaels signed with WCW? What if WCW won the Monday Night Wars? What if Vince McMahon's WrestleMania failed? What if...
What's going on there, Reflection Nights? What is going on there? To the magnificent 70 Elite 8, the 99, the terrific 10, you know who you are. And you know what? I'm laughing this evil because, you know, I know something in the future. I know something that's going to happen. Well, there's two paradoxes that's going to happen, Reflectionites. Well, it concerns my New York Yankees. By the time you hear this weekend, I might be a miserable fuck because the Yankees got swept by the LA Dodgers.
Might.
Well, shut up. Or plan B is that the Yankees will do the unthinkable, do the impossible, do the only thing that probably the professor's the only one that believes in the New York tri-state area, that they will be the second team to come back from a 3-0 deficit and win a World Series championship. two paradoxes. I'm picking the one that's going to the right. I'm picking the 3-0 comeback special. But again, see, the laugh means it's going to happen. The laugh means the Yankees going to win number 28. But neither here nor there. This is not a baseball podcast. It's just me trying to vent because, again, I can be. Stop it. Stop with the food, man. Pour it in a bowl and eat. Jesus Christ.
I think I got him.
See that Reflection Nights? He disrespects me all the time. Every time I hit the record button, he has anything that raps and crinkles and all that stuff. He tries to mess up the show for you, the listening Reflection Nights, the viewing Reflection Nights, and all that stuff. But anyway, I'm trying to maintain here because again, my Yankee fandom is in peril right now. I don't want to get swept. But again, I go for hope. 3-0 comeback. We're going to do it. We're going to do it for it. They're going to do it for me. That's right. Do it for the professor. But anyway, neither here nor there. So welcome to the PWR podcast here at the Hami Media Group at Podbean.com. And welcome to a very special What If edition of the PWR podcast. This was a Donnie Day One request. So, if Donnie, if you're hearing this in 2024, please listen to it in 2024. I even give you a reprieve. Listen to it in 2025. I hope TW slides this link to your DMs, No Diddy, and just so you can listen to it. I don't want you to wait 3 years to listen to a hand-picked episode that you wanted. But anyway, before we even talk about that, I must introduce myself because I'm vain like that. I must introduce myself because I get younger when I introduce myself. I am the effervescent one. I am the studious one. I am a wonderful person. But most importantly, I am a glorious person. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, probationary PWC punditry. The only objective man in this political landscape. The only man that's waiting for November 6th. Because I hate all this election talk. I hate all this tribalism. I want us to unite again as one and not be well, you know what? We're not going to unite even after November 6th. Yeah, the losers are going to bitch and complain and say it's rigged. So again, tribalism will win. That's what it is. But anyway, we need a whole reboot on that. But again, that's a story for another day. I'm the Professor Chabelle Cruz. And I'm not here alone to change the course of Western history here. No. I'm here with my brother from another mother, the conservative liberal conservative, dum-dum doer, idiot's own, the iron stomach one, and the undisputed, undeniable, universal Detroit Rock City heavyweight champion of the world. Woo! Tommy Wonder, how you doing, my friend? Did you practice that all the time now?
I learned it as you were talking, getting ready to hit play.
Jesus Christ. You going on YouTube for the wrong reasons, trying to learn how to do this.
I learned it sitting right here, right now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I got my new stitched Christmas pajama bottoms on. Look at this.
Well, thank God it's pajamas.
Cross is wide open.
I was about to black out.
It's almost as open as, it's almost as wide as that dustpan that one of the people on the Dodgers is holding while the other one's sweeping that broom.
There ain't gonna be no. Again, like I said, there's two paradoxes. It's either gonna be a sweep or it's gonna be the greatest comeback in the history of sports. We're gonna redeem ourselves from 2004. It's the 20-year anniversary. We're gonna do it the other way. But anyway, again, neither here nor there.
So they lost from being up 3-0 in the World Series?
Yeah, the Boston Red Sox in 2004, the ALCS.
I was gonna say, there ain't no damn World Series if it's the Red Sox.
Hey, but it's still a bad taste in anybody's mouth.
Well, let me just hit you with a little facts.
What is that now?
Facts don't care about your feelings, Professor. But this year, I went to 3 Major League Baseball stadiums. Detroit Tigers, made the playoffs. But I also went to the Cleveland Indians, and they eliminated the Tigers in the playoffs. And I went to the Yankees, who eliminated the Indians from the playoffs. And I did not go to LA, but I went to San Diego, which is the great state of California. It's not really a great state, but it's got nice parts. Right. And it looks like the one state that I didn't go to a baseball game is so angry with me for not going to one of their games. They're just going to head sweep up the Yankees real quick.
You know what? Speaking,
joining
wait,
the Dancing Tigers.
hold up. For the Reflectionites, I ride with y'all. But you know what? There's something that TW just said here that just reminded the professor. When he was in the Bombay area, he has this bad quirk that he tries to jinx. Well, he does. It was successful, but he tries to jinx. He tries to jinx the Indians. They're eliminated. I don't know about the Detroit Tigers, but they're eliminated. I don't know if he was trying to jinx them, but one of his jinxes is really has fucked up this whole New York City tri-state area. He fucked up the Jets. He wore was it the Aaron Rodgers jersey?
It was.
After he came to Jet Stadium, after he came to MetLife Stadium, the Jets have fired their coach, have released the wide receiver, lost every game, and then you know what? They're playing worse than they were last year when they had Zach Wilson. I'm just wondering, if any Reflectionite is a Jet fan, blame the man on my right in the video screen. He's the one that's ruined the Jets.
Here's the funny part of it, though, right? Mm-hmm. So I have gone to Chicago in a Red Wings jersey and watched the Red Wings win in that building. I have gone to Carolina, to Raleigh, and watched the Capitals win in their jersey. Mm-hmm. I have gone to D.C., and the Capitals won in that jersey. So It's not necessarily me wearing the home team's jersey that caused them to lose, although the Red Wings just won for the first time ever with one of my daughters with me. I have taken all three of them, and they won that game. Every other game, I have taken them all individually, at least two each, even three for Bella, and they have lost every single time. And one time, me and Emily are there. They're up 4-0 in the second period. I look at it, I go, hey, I think you're going to snap the jinx. They lost 6-5 and had to tie it to get to 6 or to get to 5 because they gave up 5 straight goals in this second half of the game. But anyhow, I went to Cleveland and wore their jersey, lost. I went to the Yankee Stadium and wore their jersey, lost. Yeah. But I did those on purpose. I did it for the bad juju. But I am not a Jets fan. I am an Aaron Rodgers fan. Therefore, I was legit wearing that jersey for him. And that
wasn't good juju. That was some bad juju.
Rain. And they missed a field goal that would have won the game for him. And I thought, yes. So really what it looks like, with the exception, well, no. I guess what it comes down to is if I'm wearing the jersey of the team and I am a fan of the team, they win. If I wear the jersey of the team just because I'm in their building, they lose.
All I know is this man, TW, has cost the Jets a coach, a wide receiver, a couple of players.
Which receiver got hurt?
I don't know. No, he got released, I think. Mike Williams.
They fucking released him?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
To get Devontae Adams, you had to make some room.
I didn't know they just released him.
Again, like I said, your juju is some bad juju for the Jets. But anyway, this ain't a Jets podcast right now. We can have fun with that too. But anyway, we are a nostalgic podcast. We are the Pro Wrestling Reflection. But TW, we're going to change the course of wrestling history right now. And this is a Donnie Day 1 requested edition of the What If series.
Can I just say something real quick?
Go ahead.
I just found out about this. Hopefully by the time this airs, there'll be some good news, at least some news, and hopefully it's good, on Chris Bay. Because I don't know him personally, but we have mutual friends. And it's a pretty heavy situation. I'm assuming you know what happened.
Yeah, the TNA tapings, he had a bad accident and a neck injury.
He took a neck breaker, and it legit broke his neck.
Oh, wow.
And last I heard, he was rushed to surgery because they were trying to take pressure off of his neck. So having broke my neck, there's two ways you go about this. You break your neck and it's just the bones, the vertebrae, and you're good. Like me, who didn't even know I broke it for 4 years. Or there's the kind where you break your neck and the bones do stuff to your spine, which is what causes the other stuff. And hopefully it's not that. When I first found out, I assumed it was from that swanton dive, but it wasn't. It was a neck breaker on Sunday in the ring.
Oh, wow.
So just a freak thing. I mean, maybe he had something there waiting to break, because that's always a possibility when you're already kind of hurt, and then something else just finishes the job. But just want to say a prayer for him, and anybody listen to this, hopefully you say one as well. That obviously my prayer is that he makes a full recovery, as quick as possible. But you just hope that at the very least he walks away from it. Maybe he's not wrestling no more. Hopefully that's not the case, but I just hope the dude's, and
let him live a happy life. That's all.
Right.
A happy, normal life.
And my buddy Jeff changed his picture to him and Chris Bay on Monday, I believe, and I didn't know why. And I I actually told him, I said, man, I was hopeful that meant he was following the Guns to WWE. And he goes, unfortunately, no, it's because of his neck. But I had no idea until today. So hopefully he makes a full recovery, man. And like I said, wrestling secondary, quality of life is first and foremost, and life in general, just to be here.
Absolutely. So, prayers for Chris Bay, prayers for Vikingo, because he actually suffered another knee injury on the same tapings of that TNA episode that's going to be coming up. So, let's just hope that, both guys, come back to the sport that they love to do. But like TW said, quality of life is more important than that. And with that being said, TW, again, this is a Donnie Day One requested episode. So again, hopefully he will hear this in 2025, not 2027. But again, that's neither here nor there. But TW, he asked me, he slid into DMs. He said, Professor, can you do this particular what if? And it was apropos since we are going to be, approaching the month of November. We're going to be approaching the month of Survivor Series and all that stuff. So, it kind of makes sense to do this what if edition for the month of November. But we're not going to harp on we might talk about this reflection, but the most debated thing in the history of November is the Montreal Screwjob from the Survivor Series of 1997. We have gone back and forth within this community to say, is it a work? Is it real? Did Vince McMahon and Bret Hart orchestrate Bret Hart going to WCW and WCW overpaying him and all that stuff? But we're not talking about that. This is a what if edition. What are you doing? Oh, okay. I'm about to say, you're about to move the camera and all that stuff. I'm like, God damn, TW. Preparation is key. Do that for me. But anyway, neither here nor there. But the Montreal Screwjob, we're going to twist it right now. We're not going to analyze the Montreal Screwjob. We're not going to rebook the Montreal Screwjob. Donnie Day One said, plain and simple, what if the Montreal Screwjob never, ever took place and Bret Hart stayed in the WWE in 1997 and kind of like ended his career the right way, if you will, TW, ended it the way it was supposed to be. And it would never, well, first of all, that what if is answered. Bill Goldberg would have never kicked him in the head and his career would have never cut short. So we already got that one out of the way. All right, see you next week for the PWR podcast. So what if it's over? But again, that's a TW answer. But again, that's why I did it first. I'm Eminem from 8 Mile. I already know TW's raps, what he's going to do. But anyway, TW, let's be serious here for a minute. Not go into the what if, but again, what are you doing? Now you're going to do some Diddy shit? Upside down dick sucking? What are you doing? I see his feet. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? Oh my God, reflectionize. If you see the audio reflectionize is always like, what is Professor always kind of pause? I'm looking at what the hell this man is doing. But anyway, TW, let's at least talk about the Montreal Screwjob for a little bit. The most, talked about thing within this community, the most debated thing within this community. Again, from the Montreal Screwjob, we know what history has, foretold. The Attitude Era goes on the next level. WWE overtakes WCW in the Monday Night Wars. We always know that, but it's had a starting point. And this was the monument. This is like the time. What the hell are you doing, man? Are you playing with your dolls? Stop playing with your dolls.
I don't have any dolls, so no.
That's it. Well, when it's Shawn Michaels is the doll. But anyway, we know the paradox starts at Survivor Series 1997, and everything changed in the game for the world of professional wrestling. So what say you about the Montreal Screwjob? Because it is a pivotal point of professional wrestling history.
First and foremost, there's no way in hell it was a work. None. None.
It's been debated that it was a work. It was an orchestrated work. Scott Hall even said this on one of those kayfabe commentaries. That this was a work. Scott Hall.
Really?
He did.
That's like asking Ace Frehley to be your historian for the band Kiss. You're gonna go with the guy who was high at all times. There is no way.
But he was there.
Yeah, he was there, but he wasn't in the room when Bret will tell you everybody was in the room when he knocked Vince out. Like, he can tell you where they were sitting, including Shawn. That hug Shawn and Bret had.
No, I'm not saying Scott Hall was there. I'm just saying he was there. He heard he heard from third parties and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He was there.
Have you ever heard stories in the wrestling business? Do you know what the first thing I ever heard about Shawn Michaels when I started wrestling? Oh, he's a nice guy, but he's Vince's bitch. And I'm like, what? Like, oh yeah. Vince always has a handful of dudes that are his bitches, kind of like the Diddy thing or that boy band guy thing or Nickelodeon thing. It's obviously bullshit, but their wrestling is full of jealousy and people who can't accept that they're not on top because they're not as good as the guy that is on top. And Bret Hart, I saw something the other day go, man, I wish it was a damn work, because then I could have came back a little bit older and wrestled Vince at WrestleMania. You know, he's joking about how he did, except for he was a frail, broken old man at post-stroke when he wrestled Vince and had to have a no bump clause in there because if he bumped, it was going to mess up his insurance from Goldberg. But at the end of the day, you know, Bret has basically obviously, these are my two guys, Shawn and Bret. They are. And at the end of the day, And at the end of the day, Bret Hart has absolutely tarnished, at the very least, his reputation with a lot of people and ruined it with a lot of people who think he's a bitter old man. There's no way he's this angry still if it was a work. Wait. Oh, how about keeping up with the appearances, living the gimmick, as you would say? That's what I'm telling you. He would have stopped doing it once his reputation was taking the hit. That dude takes shade every day on the internet and gives zero fucks, right? But at the end of the day, that moment with Shawn and Bret in the ring, 100% real. Every time they've been together since, I watched this other thing the other day, Shawn explaining to Bret about his eye, because Bret was like, you know, earlier he goes, does it get better? Because earlier I didn't notice it at all. And Shawn goes, I really don't know, because I don't know when it is there, when it isn't. He was explaining what happened. Shawn Michaels always looks uncomfortable around Bret. Like, he's not quite sure Bret really does forgive him, right? But I mean, in the beginning, when they first mended fences, I'm sure they're fine now. But what's always crazy to me is, and this is another reason why I believe it is absolutely 100% was a shoot, because one of the guys he still takes shots at, which is mind-blowing to me, because he's the HNIC now, is Triple H. He still takes shots at Triple H doing shoot interviews and sit-down interviews and stuff, but has a working relationship with them. So for him to say that and jeopardize that working relationship, and we all know at the end of the day, Triple H is probably way better now than he was then, but I wouldn't put it past him to take a shot from Bret like that and not retaliate in some way. You know what I mean? Like, but it just feels like it was good for business. So, but Bret, there's no way he was in on it. So for me, it's real. And I think if it doesn't happen and he doesn't go to WCW, because I don't necessarily think if it doesn't happen, he doesn't still go. I think it's worse for Bret if it doesn't happen, because if he doesn't lose the belt there's no guarantee he's going to show up on Monday, other than he pretty good man of his word, so he probably would have. But he also said he wanted to surrender it. I think that's a bad move. As much as I'm a Bret guy, surrendering it, that's kind of shitty, right? But at the same time,
it's funny you say that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is one of the first and foremost what if scenarios, because again, Reflection Nights, if you remember the movie, well, the documentary, what do you want to call it, documentary or movie? But anyway, Wrestling with Shadows with Bret Hart, that the guerrilla style camera crew was following Bret the whole year of 1997, and then that particular moment where they had Bret Hart wired right? TW, they had Bret Hart wired with that conversation between himself and Vince McMahon. Again, a lot of people think that's a work too. But again, I'm just saying what I've heard. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm going with what you're saying too. So, I listen to both sides. That's what you're supposed to do in this world of information, all that stuff. But one of the scenarios in our what if, TW, is what you're talking about. Because in that movie, they couldn't come to an agreement because Bret Hart was like, I'm the hero. I can't drop the title and all that stuff. But again, let's kind of twist it, because this what if is what if he stayed. But what are the scenarios of our what ifs? We're going to start with that first one based off the movie. Now, in 1997, TW explained it perfectly. Him and Shawn Michaels were not getting along personally. Business-wise, again, we can do what we have to do, and then, if you cross me and I cross you, Vince McMahon would be that, that tiebreaker, whatever the case may be. But one of the things for Survivor Series 1997 was, I don't want to lose to Shawn. I'd rather it be a double, he said a schmaz. So right. We can interpret a schmaz any way we want to on this one, which is, I guess, a double DQ. The Hart Foundation come out, some Team America people come out, and all this stuff. Austin comes out and all that stuff. The schmaz would kind of protect them. We could protect Bret and would protect Shawn Michaels. But that scenario happens but for that scenario to work, it works with Bret Hart going to WCW. We can't do that. So we have to flip it with Bret Hart just does not want. He's doing a honky tonk man, TW. That's what I'm trying to say. I will lose the belt to anybody. I'll lose it to The Undertaker. I'll lose it to the Goon, but I'm not losing it to Shawn Michaels, and I want to do the schmaz. So TW, let's do that what if scenario right there. The Bret Hart schmaz, his own version of the schmaz. You can flip it any way you want to. Number one, I want to ask you this question, and you kind of he was answering this question. Would it work? Would it make sense? But let's not talk about him going to WCW. Let's just do it from the standpoint of the honky tonk man scenario. I ain't losing my title. I ain't losing it to this motherfucker. No way, no how. I don't give a fuck. You can find me, suspend me, or whatever the case may be. Or you can write me off, or whatever. What say you, TW, about the schmaz angle for Bret Hart, even if he stays in the WWE in 1997?
Well, first of all, if he wasn't leaving, I don't think he even has to do any of that. I think he goes over clean on Shawn to get the win back from losing clean to Shawn at WrestleMania. So that's normally how it would have played out, right? Bret got the belt back, didn't win.
But I would push back a little bit, TW, because again, these are two combustible egos going back and forth. That's why I say for the reflection I see that I use the honky tonk man syndrome, because again, there was moments where honky tonk just didn't want to drop that IC title during his greatest Intercontinental run, most notably to Macho Man Randy Savage at Saturday Night's Main Event or whatever the case may be. Or he was supposed to lose. Yeah, it was the main event. He was supposed to lose the title at the main event even before WrestleMania. And then that scenario actually worked out well for Macho Man because he won the tournament at WrestleMania 4. So neither here nor there. But TW, I'm just saying. But the egos is going to play a major role in this. But I'm sorry, go ahead with your schmaz.
The whole reason we're in this pickle is because he's leaving. Mm-hmm. And so if he wasn't leaving, he just got the damn belt back earlier in the year.
He got the belt back at SummerSlam 1997. I'm just giving you the logistics.
Right. So he's not even champ for 3 months. There's no way he's dropping it again that quick. And again, so I can't remember exactly, but when one of the reasons why Bret and Hulk never wrestled, maybe they did in WCW, but in WWF, is because Hogan was always like, well, if I put him over, he's never going to return the favor. Remember how he lost to the Warrior and then had to have that fucking match that never happened at Halloween Havoc to get his win back? So I want to say Shawn lost to Hulk at SummerSlam because the plan was Hulk would then return the honors and the favor to Shawn and never did. So you got Bret dropping the belt to Shawn, which we talked about, I think, last week, in one of the best matches ever, that Iron Man match. And then now it's a year, because that was 96, right?
Yeah, WrestleMania 1996.
So it's a year and a half later. Bret's never really got his win back, other than IC title defenses, stuff like that. That wasn't really a big show. Now, this is Survivor Series. It's number 3 of the big 4, and actually possibly number 2 because it was before.
Number in the hierarchy of importance.
No.
Oh.
First WrestleMania, then Survivor, then SummerSlam, then Royal Rumble. So it's a big deal. It's one of the Grand Slam pay-per-views, and this would have been Bret's way of winning. And Bret could have cheated to win, but it's still a win. You know what I mean? Because of the Hart Foundation or whatever. But if the thing was to him to lose the belt, then yeah, I remember, maybe I'm, what do you call it, Mandela effect. I remember him saying, I'll drop this belt to the 1, 2, 3 kid tomorrow night on Raw. I just don't want to lose to Shawn in Montreal. And
in 97, no, the 1, 2, 3 kid was already in WCW as 6, Pac.
Okay, then it was probably somebody like the Goon. Then it was somebody no one would expect it. Like, he wasn't saying he didn't want to lose the belt, but he just didn't want to lose it in Canada.
Well, logistically, I think he was more open to dropping the belt, like going to WCW. He was willing to, I think, drop the belt. Don't quote me, TW. I'm not saying I'm totally right, but I'm just looking at the scheduling. He would have gladly lost the belt back to give the belt back to Undertaker because he beat the Undertaker at SummerSlam. So it was like, okay, I'll lose it to him at a house show. Could have worked that way, but again, neither here nor there. So we'll look at it from that standpoint. So with that being said, Reflection Nights, again, it's a funny thing, TW, because you have to agree, like this what if, because all our what ifs is always booking. We always try to book and try to kind of parlay that to maybe a year or 2. I'm not saying it's difficult to book Bret Hart after the Montreal Screwjob that never existed, but we have to ask this question too, because what was happening in the WWE was a resurgence, if you will, Reflectionites, of the Attitude Era. We were, it was Stone Cold Steve Austin coming up, notching up, in the hierarchy. We already know where Shawn Michaels is in the hierarchy. He's one of the big boys. Undertaker, a pillar. Bret Hart is officially a pillar. So, you got those pillars right there, and then you got some good upper mid cards like Vader. You got an upper mid card like, let's say, Ken Shamrock coming up on the scene, TW. So the funny thing about the screw job is it elevates, Steve Austin, because the person that, benefited a lot of Bret Hart leaving was Steve Austin, because again, Bret Hart gave him the rub, gave him a chance to get to the next level. If it wasn't for Bret Hart and Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13, the I Quit match and all that stuff, Stone Cold wouldn't be Stone Cold in all his glory. But with Bret Hart leaving, Stone Cold gets to the next Phoenix level, if you will, Reflectionites. So TW, I must ask this. It's not about booking. It's just, your own kind of like feeling. No bias here. I know where you are with Bret Hart and the Pillars, but we have to be realistic. Where would Bret Hart be in the hierarchy of World Wrestling Federation or World Wrestling Entertainment after the Montreal Screwjob, never existed? If he stayed there in 1997, during this attitude, and let's not forget, he's not too receptive with the way the Attitude Era was going anyway. He was very he's like, and
he must have really loved WCW.
Well, they weren't cursing there. I'm just saying. He took the money, but he didn't like the cursing that WWE was doing during that, staunch Attitude Era. He didn't like the sexualization, if you will. He didn't like this Jerry Springer presentation. He was very adamant about that. You're
telling me there wasn't Major Guns and Nitro Girls, and
he didn't like that either. That was
I'm just saying WCW was a fucking worse version. It was a Temu Wish version of the Attitude Era. Here's what I think. I think, especially since Bret wins it at SummerSlam, I think he beats Shawn. I think Austin wins the Royal Rumble, and I think Bret loses it to Austin at Mania 2 years after.
A year after. It would be 98.
Oh, it would have been 1 year, even better. So, Bret's in the sharpshooter, maybe even reenact the blood, and you're thinking, oh no, here we go again. But Austin fights through it. It would have been perfect if he reversed the sharpshooter, and then what you don't see very often. And I want to say I saw Flair do it once, but I doubt it because it might just be wishful thinking because he was always the champion. But when people like Wyndham did it to him, Sting did it to him. I don't know if Dusty could do it to him, but guys would turn the figure four to the stomach, and they would arch back. And so if I didn't see Flair submit to that, I saw someone else submit to it. I just can't remember who it was.
He never submitted to that. He sold it. He never submitted to that.
But that would have been good if there's some way for Austin to reverse the sharpshooter and turn it into his own whatever, and Bret tap out. It would have been, and I think Bret, for somebody, if he was going to do that for, it would have been Austin. You know what I mean? I think anybody would have done that for Austin, but that would have been right up there with Cena and Rock having those 3 WrestleMania where really that's all they did. Well, I think there was some Royal Rumble stuff and Survivor, but basically their matches were only at WrestleMania. It would have been a nice way for Austin to
come full circle with what he was doing. Come full circle
and take the belt from Bret, who a year ago they stole the show from the main event of Sid and Undertaker at WrestleMania. But man, I lost my train of thought of what else I was going to say. But
no, but let me just say this: if you try to, once you try to get,
I know what I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
Sean probably doesn't retire after WrestleMania 97 like he did, because it was almost like, I mean, he needed to. Not just the injuries, but the physical well-being of his addict stuff. But maybe Sean gets help sooner if he's not carrying the belt, and comes back sooner if, he gets whatever help he gets. Because I don't know that he got clean right after WrestleMania. I think that's when he had surgeries. And
he took a break. He took a break to get his smile back. Well,
no. After Austin at 97 Mania, he was done. So 02.
No. Here, well, Shawn Michaels. Let's be a little bit official with this, because again, this goes back to the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, hatred for each other on a personal level. Because remember, Shawn Michaels did not want to drop his title to Bret Hart if that was the plan for WrestleMania 13. So they had to kind of like pivot and all that stuff. So that's where he lost his smile. And let's say mended injuries or whatever the case may be. But again, he came back in the summer, and then they had their program again, Survivor Series. And then Shawn hurt his back against The Undertaker at Royal Rumble 98. Then dropped this title to Stone Cold at 98. Then was out technically for 4 years, even though he wrestled in 2000. But again, neither here nor there, reflection. That's just logistics.
But he wrestled in 2000.
He had a school. He had his own school in San Antonio, Texas, and it was kind of like, like Booker T with his own promotion. Yeah, same thing. He did that, not first, but he did that for him, for San Antonio wrestling. That's where Bryan Danielson was in his school.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Who's this Bryan Danielson? You talking about Daniel Bryan? Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, either or. But you motherfucker. But anyway, neither here nor there. But
sweet.
It's funny that you say that, because of the scenario here. Bret Hart actually would be okay, at least until WrestleMania 98, if we're coming full circle with Stone Cold Steve Austin. So Stone Cold is okay on the hierarchy because he's beating the champ, if you will reflectionize. But again, lasting power, staying power, TW. So, with all that being said, we can always now parlay it to the matches that we want to see him, be involved with. So the first thing that comes to my mind in 1998, if you will reflectionize, would be he did what he had to do with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now he's got to give the rub to somebody else. You already know who I'm talking about. Somebody a little bit younger, somebody a little bit hungrier, somebody from Miami, Florida, and all that stuff. No. The Rock. I'm talking about The Rock in 1998, Nation of Domination. He's already coming up. Everybody's like, Rocky sucks and all that stuff. So TW, that would be something good. That's like, not student against teacher, but a young lion against the old lion right there, if you will. So TW, how would you make that make sense? Would you do Hart Foundation versus Nation of Domination, all that stuff?
That would have been awesome. But listen to me, man. I can't say this enough. That Hart Foundation group, not team.
Oh, wait, hold on. Hold your thought. Now, I know Reflectionites, British Bulldog, Jim the Anvil, not Hart, they left with Hart. So again, part of the what if is the Hart Foundation stays. They stay united as a brethren, as a brotherhood. So that would still be Bret Hart. That would still be British Bulldog. That would still be Neidhart. That would still be Pillman, all that stuff. So go ahead, T. I'm sorry.
And Owen. Owen's not gone.
And Owen too. He would be actually.
And maybe
better.
Owen doesn't. Fuck, we just saved Owen's life because he doesn't become Blue Blazer again if the Hart Foundation's still together.
There you go.
Fucking Vince. Had to do the screw job, but I can't stress it enough. One of the absolute greatest things I've ever seen in my life. It worked on me, and I was in the business. Is that double swerve or double turn with Austin and Bret at WrestleMania 13, and then Bret and his team being cheered in Canada and booed in the U.S. When Austin was the red hot best thing in wrestling, somehow Canada still booed him because Bret was that over in Canada, right? Which almost gives credence to understanding why he didn't want to lose in Montreal to Shawn Michaels, right? So, but if you keep them together and Bret drops it to Austin and then The Rock rises up, kicks out Farouk, takes over the nation, you almost make Bret a good guy again because you're not going to the Nation of Domination.
You make him good. You make him good out of proxy, almost,
right?
Because you need it.
The Nation. What's the one Crush was in? Disciples. What were they called?
DOA.
They're just not baby faces. Like nothing they did would have made them baby faces, other than being booted out of there, which is how Ron Simmons got cheered, and D'Lo a little bit after he got out of there, but it was just they broke up, not that. But like Right to Censor, DOA, Nation, the Boricuas were, I think they ended up being baby faces because they got turned on. You know what I mean? I think wasn't it 4 different things? It was black, white, Mexican, and one other.
Well, Boricuas are Puerto Rican, but anyway, I get what you're going with. Yeah.
Hispanic motherfucker. There's a lot of different white motherfuckers too. Irish.
I know. But when you say Boricua, I'm just giving you the.
But it was Ron Simmons, Savio Vega, Crush, and someone else.
No, it was them. It was them 3 first.
Them 3 with PG-13 and Clarence Mason. Okay. So when the Nation booted them, they tried making DOA and Boricuas baby faces, and it kind of worked for the Boricuas, did not work for DOA. It just those types of factions are just.
Well, what they tried, it didn't resonate with the fans. But I hear what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. They're that whole gimmick.
It's more that the fans didn't care. It was just one of those bathroom break kind of things when it was DOA and Boricuas. It didn't matter for storyline purposes. But I get what you're saying.
But I'm saying no one's gonna cheer for them. Is my point. Regardless if they're bored by them or not, they just were never going to be baby faces. Like Austin.
That's where the Hart Foundation comes in with your booking acumen with the Nation against the Hart Foundation in '98. If we do it that way, I get you. I'm following
it. All it would take is after Bret lost to Shawn or Austin, is if Bret congratulated him or whatever, and then kind of went away. Kind of like remember how Flair beat Steamboat and then Terry Funk. He wasn't wrestling, and then he just out of nowhere blindsided Flair, and then got into the world title picture. That's what you could do with the Nation. You could have Bret try to interview people, whatever, and then they do that to him, and then it turns into the Nation versus the Hart Foundation. It would have been good, and it would have been a great way. Like I can't help but watch wrestling now and think, man, these guys never got in there with each other. Like one of them I didn't even think about was Bret and Rocky. Because they were baby faces at the same time, and then once Rocky turned heel, Bret was a heel and left. But like, there's just so many guys. Because you watch wrestling nowadays, you watch it.
I think Bret and Rock fought when Rocky was not The Rock.
Right.
He was Rocky Maivia. But I'm talking about Bret versus The Rock in 1998 in that instance reflection. Right. So
because like Rock and Batista wrestled, right?
I do not, unless an OVW.
Rock and Orton, no.
Again, unless it's OVW time.
Rock and Cena didn't until Rock was gone and came back. Rock and Brock wrestled though, right?
Yeah.
So it's just it's insane how these people overlap, and like just so many guys. Like, fuck, man, it's easy to rip on them in hindsight. I didn't feel this way when they. I mean, I still was Team WWEF. We got robbed of so much great stuff from Bret by him going to WCW. That's my thing. Like, forget the screw job. The screw job isn't even necessary if Vince doesn't fucking go back on his contract and help Bret get money from, like, the dummy here is Bischoff, because I believe, I mean, I understand that the Attitude Era was kicking off and Austin was kind of like the impetus, whatever the hell that word is.
The antithesis.
He's the one that got it going. But if Bret doesn't leave, I don't know that we get the Attitude Era that we got, and I don't know that WCW doesn't shit the bed.
This is part of the what if scenario. TW, you have to be realistic.
I think once Bret got there, WCW went downhill because multiple reasons. One, they used him immediately to fucking reenact the screw job with Sting. Then they fucking bobble him back and forth as heel and face. Then they have him join the NWO after immediately feuding with them when he got there.
Again, we're not going into that. We're trying to stay.
I'm telling you that if the screw job doesn't happen, none of this happens, and maybe we still have a WCW. Because one thing for sure, go back and watch all of it. Bret Hart did not want to be there, and it was written all over his face every single time he was on TV. Every single time. And almost to the point where I don't know that he was phoning shit in, but he was condescending. Like he came across as, I can't believe I'm here. This is the shits. And talk to people that way. Like nothing got you excited or amped up for him. And that's my fucking guy, man, right there. Look at his shirt.
Yeah.
I didn't even wear the shirt realizing we were doing the screw job. I wore it because my good man got it for me. This was that Monday Night Raw special Bret Hart edition. You can only get the shirt there. But it
the stars align, TW. That's what it
at the end of the day, I think it's better that the screw job happened. As much as I hated it then, we lose so much stuff if it doesn't happen, which I think alters the entire landscape of wrestling. All these neckbeards out there might not even get AEW. We might not have Impact. We might not have a lot of that stuff. We might not have WWE because they might have lost. And then Bret was the first pillar to go down, and then Shawn's next, and then Undertaker and someone else after that. You know, I also do feel like it robbed of us a lot of stuff too. Like I said,
well, that's where we're going with, Bret Hart against The Rock in '98. We were trying to do that scenario, which is just an example, TW, of things that could have happened. Again, and if Bret Hart is still there, he would have had his match. He would have had that Matt Classic with Kurt Angle in 1999.
Yeah.
In the run and all that stuff. So, again, another match that you could have had. Bret Hart against Edge, up and coming superstar.
He discovered Edge.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay. See,
when me and Edge were coming up, he fucking tells us he went to
that show, that talk show, yeah, and he
no, not just that. Edge was either bouncing at a bar or was in it, and Bret came to the bar in Toronto and saw him and said, "Hey, man, have you ever thought about being a wrestler?" It actually might be how he started wrestling. Matter of fact, it was before I met him. That's how we got turned into Sweet Daddy Sekias, who trained Edge Christian and Joey Legend. But Bret got them in because Bret saw Edge at a bar. Maybe that TV show you're talking about, Off the Ropes or Off the Record or whatever.
No, it was a talk show that,
Yeah, it's called Off the Record or On the Record. And Bret was on there quite a bit, but Edge was in the audience. Bret meeting Edge for wrestling purposes was either Edge was a doorman or he was at the bar that Bret went to and sent him. Told him, hey, this is what you do. I mean, Edge did a lot of stuff in Canada. He went to Winnipeg. He went to Hamilton. He went to all these places that probably Bret got him in because, Edge is a tall dude, man. Little thin, but tall as shit. And he had that long hair. He just had the look, But Bret helped him get in. So Bret versus Edge would have been great.
So, TW, this is what if. What would be the perfect, let's say, booking scenario for having this match? Because again, the one thing about Bret Hart is he likes to be the hero, but he was very good at being a dick, especially an anti-American dickhead. So let me ask you this in a two-part question, because again, we got to at least try to book some matches like, again, Bret Hart against Edge, Bret Hart against Christian, Bret Hart against Kurt Angle. We got to do this for Dynamite Day 1. We got to do this for your boy too. So we got to make it make sense. But I got to ask this question first because, again, if the Montreal Screwjob never happens, you know, again, I like what you said with Owen Hart not dying too. Bret Hart would have loved that too. But after the Montreal Screwjob, the presentation of Bret Hart, you know, you got to adapt, you got to evolve. We always know this. But is he better off as a hero? Is he better off as a prick? Is he better off as a, you know, within the Attitude Era, it was being a tweener. Everybody was a tweener. Either the fans could love you one week and hate you the next week, and it would make sense because that's what Vince Russo loved to do with his writing. He just adapted to the fans' reaction. And then once, you know, the majority said, you know, okay, you're going to be a babyface or whatever the case may be. But for Bret Hart purposes, Bret Hart loves to be the hero because he believes his own hype to a degree. But what say you, TW? After a Montreal Screwjob that never happens, what would be better for these kind of matches? Well, against The Rock, he would have to be the hero. I got that part. But against Edge, against Christian, all that stuff, even against Jeff Hardy in a singles match, against Kurt Angle, what would be better? That too. But what say you, TW? How the lasting power of Bret Hart?
Wrestle Owen again.
That too. What say you? How the lasting power of Bret Hart?
I think I've said this a million times. The hardest thing to be in a wrestling ring is the fucking good guy. It's fucking hard. So when you have someone that embraces it, like Cena, who didn't want to turn heel, like Bret, you'd fucking run with it because there's something about those guys that when they're getting cheered, they know how to fucking turn that little cheer up to 10 and get more cheers, right? Hogan, fucking Cena, you know, and you obviously these last 15 years, Rocky started even longer than that. But Roman and Cena were both over fucking huge as heels. And the second they turned baby faces, the audience turned on them. That's why it's hard. And it's even harder in the fucking mid 90s where people wanted to cheer bad guys. And then when you fucking turn them good guy, you just took away everything they liked about them, right? I was just talking it was D'Lo. When we were talking, I was telling the story about Lima. That's where him and I met. And I said, oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Jake something I told it to because it was more advice to him. I'm like, dude, I hate being a baby face. I love being a heel. I go, and they turned me fucking face because these guys were cheering for me. And I go, I didn't know what to do. And I told him, I said, finally, I realized, like, I'm very impulsive. Things just pop in my head and I say them. You hung out with me in New York. I was a little under the weather, but, you know, shit just comes out of my mouth. Even when we're doing these podcasts where I don't, it ain't written, it ain't canned. I'm hearing it for the first time, too, when the shit comes out. And otherwise, I would laugh at my own jokes because the only reason I'm not laughing is because when it comes out, I didn't know it was coming. If I tried to repeat it, I'm laughing. There's no way. And I told Jake, I said, you know what I ended up doing? I said, every time something popped in my head to rip on a fan, because that's what I did. I always fucking ripped on fans. Like, I would just find a fan and just embarrass them in front of their friends. The second something popped in my head, I would say it about my opponent or the referee. And then that way I was still the same guy. So they still laughed and they still cheered at me. But can you imagine if I would have stopped doing that and then come out, slap bys, and tried fucking hugging babies? I'd have been booed back to Detroit from Lima. They would
have called you fake.
Right. So I just, and then Jake looked at me and goes, fuck, man, that's a good idea. Like, he never thought if you're a babyface and you don't want to be, because it's fucking hard. Like, you're afraid. It's even harder indies when no one's ever seen you before and you got to come out. That's why I'm a firm believer. First match of the night on a spot show. That's a show that they don't come there all the time. No TV. It's an indie show. First guy to the ring has to be a bad guy. He has to tell everybody in there to pick one and suck it. He has to wear a fucking Maple Leafs jersey in Montreal, a Colorado Avalanche in Detroit, LA Dodgers in New York. Something that's going to get him booed with zero effort, just cheap heat. And then that way, whoever comes out next, if he comes out with a fucking Yankees jersey on, because the bad guy's got the Dodgers, you guys are going to cheer for him. And then he can shake your hands all day long. Everybody wins. But if Bret wants to be a babyface, you let him. But he's also a tremendous heel because he's one of those dudes that takes shit personal. And if he really feels slighted, you're getting the best heel of the night from that guy because he's going to let you know. And he's good at it. And it's funny because when he was in the Hart Foundation, nobody was going to call him the talker of those three guys. It was Jimmy and Jim. Bret almost never talked. And if he did, it was never as bad as Rick Martel. But if he did talk, it was short, like a canned one-liner. And that. So I do believe you're best suited using him as a babyface. And I think Shawn's better as a heel. That's the dynamic of those two. They're both better. One's a better baby, one's a better heel. Basically, Cody had his story, Shawn's story, the boyhood dream. That worked for him to be a baby, but he didn't stay baby for long after that. Remember, he basically became a heel right after Bret left. So Bret and Shawn, what you could have done while they're both heels, could you imagine Shawn and Bret teaming together? And then running roughshod over Austin, Rock, like man, it would have been so awesome.
You mean the power trip of '98? Because that would have been first before Austin and Triple H did it in 01.
Right. But imagine keeping Rock and Austin baby faces. How many fucking t-shirts you're selling, right?
Okay.
They always had to have one heel, one baby face. Those two flop back and forth so often by 98, 99 that it was just like.
Well, it was the Rock flip-flopping more than Austin. Austin was
Austin joined the corporation and then he fucking got
that was 01. We're talking like it's 98. That's 3 years. But it was Rocky who flipped. I'm answering your question.
I know I messed up the years, but I'm saying inevitably Rock and Austin would flip-flop. One of them would be a Vince, the other one wouldn't be, then the other one would be. And I don't think you have to do that. And because they did all that, Rock and Austin were never really on the same page. Can you imagine Rock and Austin versus Bret and Shawn? It would have been money. Or even Bret and Austin versus Shawn and Rock. Had the two good babies versus two good heels. There's just so much left on the table. But I like I said, for me, screw job, garbage. But I think if I had to choose whether or not it happened and weigh what I lost versus what I gained, I would want it to happen still. So
basically, with my question, your answer basically is read the room. So the room says for him to be a heel, let him be a heel. It depends on who he's working with. If the room says be the hero, be the hero. It depends on who.
And when they turned him heel and Austin face in that match, I was too fucking blind to see. They were planting that seed. I kept thinking, what are they doing, man? They're making Bret look like a bitch. But I didn't realize it was to make it easy to transition into double turn. You don't get a lot of double turns, man. You do not. I mean, Terry Funk and Ric Flair was basically a double turn because Flair was a heel against Steamboat and Funk was a babyface announcer, for the lack of a better term. And then the second Funk did that, they're cheering Flair, booing Funk, and setting up Sting to get fucking double crossed again by the Horseman. But I think the screw job has to happen. Well, we don't get a lot of stuff. Maybe you and I ain't even podcasting if it doesn't happen. It was such a big thing in history that you can't take it away without wrecking a lot of other things.
You know what's funny? Because it would go into a different scenario. Because if the screw job for Bret Hart didn't happen, who's to say that Shawn Michaels wouldn't have took his ball and went home? Who would have? Let me just say this: who wouldn't? He finds a way to get out of his contract and then goes on a Monday Night Nitro to Atlanta to be with his boys, Hall and Nash, because that's where he wanted to be. He wanted
Nitro wins. That's what happens.
If that scenario happens,
for one, Shawn wanted to go there. For two, Shawn's buddies are there. Triple H wouldn't have been far behind. He would have been kept longer, Penta El Toro style, because they don't want him to go there and have the entire fucking curtain call together. But I think if you take Shawn there, Shawn would have been a perfect fit for the NWO, especially dump Hogan and just have Hall, Nash, and Shawn and X-Pac.
Well, the Wolfpack would have been really complete if you put Shawn Michaels in that scenario. But again,
I think the fact that he'd want to be there, that he would fit in there, because you got to remember when Bret goes there, he already doesn't like Diesel and Shawn or Scott Hall, and fucking really doesn't like Hogan. So it's not like he went to be with friends. He's lucky Bulldog following him there and Neidhart following him, because otherwise he's just a lone wolf. He don't know Sting. He don't know Luger. Well, I guess he knows Luger, but
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Flair maybe takes him under his wing, but they always shoot on each other too, Bret and Flair. Just Bret, I think if Vince does it the other way, I think he chose the wrong horse. I think if he lets Shawn get bought out and go there, I think everybody wins. I do think we still have a WCW. I don't know if we lose WWE as well. You know, I mean, in reverse. But I don't think WCW goes out of business if Shawn's the guy instead of Bret. I'm not blaming Bret, but it seemed to be fucking bad juju ever since he got there.
You know, not for nothing, TW. I get a sense. This is the first what if. I don't know if you're going to agree with this, but I'm listening to you. I'm listening to this what if. Every what if we've ever done, you're very excited with it. The possibilities are endless. This is the first what if reflection. This is just me. I'm just looking at this. And TW doesn't even know I'm saying this, but this is the first what if. In my humble opinion, TW is like, I never want this what if scenario to happen. I want this history, the history that I got. I want WCW to be out of business. I want all 80.
No. I don't want WCW out of business. Just like I don't want AEW.
It just because you don't sound happy with these what if scenarios of Bret Hart staying with us. It just doesn't.
I've said. I mean, I get what you're saying. I guess my demeanor is I didn't get a nap today, but I just think.
Now that's a thumbs up for you to put up there.
I think Bret staying would have been awesome. It would have been awesome. I think what you're hearing in me is I'm still sour at Vince for buying Bret out. That's my issue. I just think it was tacky. I get it. He was desperate. He had to save his company, and he mortgaged his fucking house and all this other stuff to pay Bret, and realized he just can't do it. I understand his pickle. But maybe you let Shawn go, and then you get Bret to take a little bit less money because you compensate it with Shawn's money. You know what I mean? But then Shawn's money still has to go to somewhere else. He can't just get all of Shawn's money.
I hear you. No,
but I feel like
it just feels the voice in you just is like, I don't. Yeah, I just this what if just doesn't like, make it. It doesn't work for me. This what if is doesn't work for me, brother. That's the way I'm getting it. But anyway,
no, because I think I would be excited if Shawn went. But at the same time, Shawn's also my guy. So it's like, look, think of all the stuff I lose if Shawn goes. So I like what we got out of it. That's all I'm saying. And I fear if it doesn't happen.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to flip it right now because it just popped in my dome because, again, this might – I'm not going to say it's going to irk you, but you got to think about this really, really carefully. And let's not go far left or far right. I'm not talking about politics here, TW. But if Bret Hart actually stayed, even after the Montreal Screwjob, but you can flip it kayfabe style and not do Austin versus McMahon. You legitimately can do Hart versus McMahon from Jump Street. You could just make it a work. You could do work shoot or all that stuff. That is a possible. That could have been the parlay into the Attitude Era in a different direction. But it also could legitimize Bret Hart's heroism, if you understand what I'm trying to go with.
Right.
You know, he could be a total hero.
But it kills Austin because that's Austin's. Everybody. I've said this because you brought up politics. I tell everybody the reason Donald Trump resonates with everybody that he resonates with is the same reason Austin did. People are looking at their TVs in disbelief at this man talking to his boss and banging him around the way he does because we all wish we could do that to our boss. So we live vicariously through him. With Trump, you have for my entire life up until that guy existed. I wish there was a better choice. I wish there was a non-politician. I wish someone would go run for office that's not a career politician, blah, blah, blah. And then they got one. Turns out, no, they just want a liberal or they want a conservative. The conservatives rejected him because he's not a real conservative. The liberals rejected him because he ran as a conservative. And now you have a guy who goes on TV and calls Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig. And everyone's like, oh, shit. he's running for president and talking like that? Yep. And people embrace it because if me and you went on the internet right now and said something, at least a handful of people are going to screenshot it and try to get us fired at our job. They're going to send it. They're going to find out who your boss is. I've had people in my life screenshot someone that's a friend of mine on Facebook who I barely know, send me a screenshot of something they said, this is the kind of person you associate with. And I write back, first of all, who the fuck are you? Second of all, I'm not on that page. And third of all, I barely know that person. And you don't even know why I'm friends with them on Facebook. I don't even know why. So why are you going to make assumptions about me? But that person that they sent me the clip got fired from my job because of what she wrote in a chat, in a Facebook group.
That's bullshit.
Right. So, I mean, and it wasn't like, it was more implied shit. She didn't flat out say, fuck your mother in the neck with a fucking dildo, right? She didn't say anything like that. She basically did a if the shoe fits kind of thing and got fired because Art Van did not want, because once one person did and other people like, hey, this is who you employ, and they fired her for unbecoming an employee, whatever. Fuck, it's a no-fault state, so they can get away with it. But Trump goes on TV and just, he talks to Hillary, he talks to Biden, he talks to Kamala the way we talk to each other in the locker room. He don't give a fuck. And Austin did not. I don't think Bret would do that. I don't think Bret would be crass. You know what I mean? And I think
you technically are answering this is not box office if it's Hart versus McMahon.
Because what he would have done is remember how when Angle was on purpose. They had him come out and say, drink your milk, have integrity and all that, knowing the crowd was going to turn on it, right?
Right.
So if Bret comes out and tries to be babyface fucking hero, it's going to make Vince the good guy because that shit didn't play in 97, 98, right? Austin was basically a bad guy.
Legitimately, he was bitching and moaning that he wasn't getting like the title wins, the title shots. Right. He came across as a whiner. So, I get where you're going with that. It's just funny because with this what if, we never really parlayed that because, again, he would have actually been anointed the McMahon feud first. It wouldn't have been Austin. It would have been Hart because it just made the sense. Because the one thing that felt real was when Vince and Bret were like jockeying for, when they were technically fighting, but they were like pulling each other's clothes and shit, the jackets and the shirts and shit. And that felt real. And that was like, oh shit, that's not planned. That looked interesting. So we could see that. It could parlay that. But I would also think it could be intriguing, TW. And the reason I say that is because then it's not a wrestling story angle. It felt like, because from that point on, everything just feels work shoot. It's like, I know you're trying to like book it in a certain way, but it's like the battle of work shoots or something like that. I don't know. You get where I'm going with this. It wouldn't feel like that he's playing that Hart would be playing his hero gimmick. It would feel like it's a real life situation that they're trying to like make money off of. That's the way I'm coming across. Agree, disagree, I have a different take.
You would hope that it would come across like Shawn Michaels and Mankind, where in the middle of a fucking choreographed match, Shawn legit gets pissed off and just starts beating the shit out of him in the ring, and then turns it right back into an Irish whip, and they go back to their fucking planned spots. And it's, to me, that's one of my favorite moments I've ever seen live.
Which is a legit, oh shit, oh my God, they just did that?
Oh, like another one, which is my least favorite,
was Vegas. Shawn Michaels and Vegas.
No. It's when Randy Orton just fucking clowned Kofi Kingston. Just absolutely. I just remember going, what a fucking. Like I said, you got 3 guys on WWE right now that all 3 of those motherfuckers, I would have paid for their ticket on Buddy Holly's airplane. Randy Orton, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes. And now I love all 3 of them and have merch from all 3 of them. So there's always people mature, people get better and less dickish. But that Shawn Michaels Mankind spot, which we wouldn't have got if Shawn got to go instead of Bret.
No, that happened in '96, so we got it.
I just knew he was world champion. I just didn't know. Oh yeah, because Shawn's not there much longer after Bret's gone, so we lose both of them pretty quickly from WWE. Which credit to Rock and Austin. Fucking, they didn't miss a beat, and they started winning without Sean or Bret, who were, like you said 5-10 minutes ago, pillars. Sean and Bret were A and 1A, and that was their, bread and butter until everything started going to the shit in '93. But
give or take.
Well, I'm just saying for the business in general, WCW.
No, just give or take. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying give or take. It's just
that was that horrible Hogan return before leaving for good. It was just a bad time in wrestling. But I'll tell you what, fear not.
Okay.
There's still one wrestler out there I cannot fucking stand, and I didn't like him when he was on top. I got a stupid action figure just because I collect that specific line. Dave Bautista will never ever have me as a fan. He just won't.
I already know why. I already know.
No,
don't look at it. Don't look at his Twitter
now.
I know. Don't look at his Twitter.
Makes it easy now. But the second that dude came out with a tattoo around his belly button, I was out.
Oh God. Oh,
and his eyebrow piercing, and he looked like a monster. He's a fucking horrible talker. And he always came across to me. Now, I did read some stuff this year actually that made me soften a little bit. I don't hate anybody. I'll never be a fan of his, right? But I found out he wanted to come back to wrestling to promote Guardians of the Galaxy, which is cool, because my knock on The Rock was that he didn't want to come back at all once he made it to Hollywood. But Rock's is more understandable. You understand in hindsight, because he did come back, and he's come back full force now, full circle. He didn't want to have that stink of wrestling on him when he was trying to make it in Hollywood. And he's the one guy that, if you pay attention, the rest of them all stayed with WWE, and they never really got to that level. Rock did, and he did because he washed himself from it. Cena's getting up there.
Batista's there too.
White hot.
Batista's getting there too. But again, that's logistics. That's semantics. Yeah, he did.
This motherfucker quit the job that made him fucking famous.
I just said for Hollywood. I'm not saying anything about wrestling.
He'll be a supporting actor. He ain't gonna be no fucking star. The Rock carries movies. Batista does not.
You did not like Stuber?
I won't even watch that shit. You didn't say that name wrong, and I still don't. I know exactly what you're talking about. I ain't watching it.
Okay, whatever. But again, let's get back to
where he's got the little girl. He's fucking basically his fucking Mr. Nanny.
No, he's a cop with the Uber driver and all that. It's a comedy thrill.
What's the one with the little girl, like fucking Mr. Nanny and
something like Hitman something? Where
Hitman's not Hitman's bodyguard, but yeah. He's garbage. He's good as Batista, and why is that? Because he says like 4 words at a fucking time. That's why. I mean, that is Batista.
A little bit of decorum here, but
What's
again,
his name?
Who?
The fucking Guardian guy.
I don't.
Drax. Drax. He's good as Drax.
But again,
best work Vin Diesel's ever done too.
But again, decorum here, TW. Let's go back into this what if, because there's really nothing left to say. So let's put a bow on this. So I actually this one other question. If the Montreal Screwjob didn't happen, let's look at it from a legacy standpoint, TW. By the time he left WWE after the Montreal Screwjob, he was already a 5-time heavyweight champion of the world, 2-time tag team champion, 2-time or maybe 3-time intercontinental champion. So TW, what say you, let's say 97 on, which titles would he go after? How many? Is he another 3-time added WWE champion, or does he go back to the Intercontinental title? Does he reunite with Owen or Jim the Anvil Neidhart to do a Hart Foundation nostalgic run for the tag team titles? What say you? What would be the best scenarios for Bret Hart's legacy?
I think if the European title's still around, he gets that so he can have the Grand Slam. I think he probably wins the tag belts with Owen. It's just a no-brainer. He has to, right? And much like now, when a guy loses the world title and ends up falling off the face of the earth and then comes back and wins the IC or US title, you kind of have to go away to do that. But a guy losing the world title and then immediately going and winning the IC title, you got to have a reason. And Flair's because he never held it, so he wanted to be IC champ. Jericho's, he wanted to win it more times than anybody's ever won the IC title, and I think he is. So you have reasons. And so for Bret, he could always say, hey, this is my brother. There's not a better tag team partner, no offense, Jim Neidhart, than your blood. I started, with this World Tag Team thing, and I want to win one with my brother. And you have them as baby faces chase and then finally win it. I think that would be poetic. But I definitely think he has a couple more world title runs. I mean, if Cena got fucking 16, you get Bret at least up to 8, 9.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. What would be a good number? So 8 or 9 would be a good number as a world heavyweight champion.
Which would probably impede Cena's and Orton's reigns.
That too. You're right. It would impede certain, or even Triple H's. He wouldn't be at 14 either. So neither here nor there, Reflection. So with that being said, we close on this special what.
And just to be fair, Bret had 5 world titles when there was 1 world title. Cena, Orton, and Triple H had 2 world titles that they could hold at all times. And so it ain't like they held the WWE world title 14 times. And that WCW world title is a little bit watered down. That's like the ECWWF world title.
If Bret Hart was still wrestling by 2002 or 2003, where the first SmackDown Raw draft was going to happen, he would probably be a top 3 pick on either brand. You would have to pick Bret Hart. You would not insult, if he would be a heel, you would insult him with a lower tier, like
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you do it Aaron Rodgers shit. But if he's the babyface, he's actually 1 or 2 in your SmackDown or Raw drafts. So with that being said, we close. Do we close, TW?
Yeah.
Okay, we close on this special What If edition that was requested by Donnie Day One, who won't listen to this episode until 2027. But Donnie will, TW, make sure you slide this information to Donnie Day One to say, yo, he did the episode for you, so listen to it at least this episode, and then go back
to Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, Bill Gates meme.
Okay, that too. So send that to me, and send the link to him. So with that being said, we close on this, and for next time, Reflectionites, I think it's time to go back to the movies. TW, it's time to do it. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna celebrate. Do you remember Family Matters? Steve Urkel, Carl Winslow.
Did I do that?
Absolutely. So we're going to do that episode where the Psycho Twins, who were actually Carl Winslow and Steve Urkel, and we'll explain why they were the Psycho Twins, does a tag team match against the Bushwhackers. The Bushwhackers make a cameo appearance on a very special Family Matters. So we're going to do that movie episode. With that being said, TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here.
Alrighty, you can follow the Pro Wrestling Coalition Network as they toil in probation at the PWC Network at podbean.com. You can follow Hami Media Group at podbean.com as well as channelattitude.com. Our show is on X at PW Reflection. You can catch Big Ray all over the social medias everywhere at Big Ray Hernandez on Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of it. He's on all of it, and you can catch him every Wednesday live, the Next Level podcast. You can catch me on Instagram and X at Tommy119, or TikTok and X at the Tommy Wonder, Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder. Snapchat is #Wonder, and you can find the Big Vito brand. You can find Big Vito and Noel at Big Vito brand on TikTok.
And you got a phone call. That's your booty call right there. I got you.
That's my daughter who calls me all the time and brags to her friends that I answer all the time, but I'm not going to answer while I'm doing the show.
Oh, okay. And you can follow me on the Xer at PWSPROF. That's PWSProf. And if this gets uploaded by that slow-ass 8-Track Brown, this will be on the PWSL YouTube networks. Follow my brothers in arms, 8-Track Brown, the king of the reactions at the #8, TRAC Brown, and of course, Billy Ray Valentine at Obi-Wan You Know Me. And again, next week, we're going to go back to the movies. We're going to do a very special Family Matters where the Bushwhackers make a cameo appearance. And with that being said, I'm the professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, Dum Dum Doing Idiot Sound, the Iron Stomach One, Dr. Frickenstein, and the Detroit Rock City Universal, Undisputed, Undeniable Heavyweight Champion of the World, Mr. Fireworks himself, the Tommy Wonder, saying good night, and we'll see you next time here at the PWR podcast at Hami Media Group at podbean.com. Peace and go Yankees.
Did I do that?
Yes, you did. Oh, Jesus Christ.